Okay, hello everyone, good evening. Are we all ready for evening's entertainment? This, as you know, is our very first in-person inaugural professorial lecture, and by our very own Duncan Brumby, who had agreed to do this 3 years ago. But something came along and we had to cancel it. And he has agreed to be the first one to give his. So I'm really glad to see a big turnout, despite the train strikes and people's fear of coming out and not getting trained. Anyway, I'm here to introduce Duncan's talk. Duncan will give his lecture, and then Anna will give the project plans. And then afterwards, out there in the foyer, remember that space, we will have drink and nibbles. It's a very British thing for those who know what nibbles are. It's crisps and things like that. So maybe we can stay afterwards to continue to celebrate. What an amazing achievement to become a full professor. So Duncan arrived at UCL in 2007, which is 14 years ago, 15 years ago, as a lecturer in doing computer interaction. And my predecessor, Lantern, who was a director at the time, asked him to come and help with a new course, which was interaction design. Many of you may be familiar with this course. Duncan has a background in cognitive science and psychology. And at the time, he didn't really know much about interaction design, but he took it in stride, and we learned a lot about what interaction design is, and created a really good course, which went from strength to strength. And he actually started enjoying design rather than psychology experiments. Anyway, to begin with, he was very much out of his comfort zone, but now I think he has grown and really thought about how to teach courses that may not be directly concerned with his own research. The students have always loved him and his teaching style. He has a particular teaching style, and he has over the years grown from strength to strength as a teacher, as a tutor, as a mentor, but most importantly, as a party goer. He was one of the first to come back after COVID when we could, and was always there if there was a social event or a lunch. And I think he's been really important for bringing us back together after the pandemic. But we're here today to listen to Duncan about his research. And many of you know he's always been interested in how we switch our attention between different tasks and multitasking. And he's particularly interested to begin with as to whether people can use their phone whilst driving. Most of us in this area just instinctively think that's a bad thing, that of course you can't drive and phone. But Duncan actually said, well, maybe you can. Be quite good at doing certain aspects. And so we went about doing a study which someone thought was slightly controversial, which was to say that yes, people can call whilst driving, because they're clever at just doing the small steps or clumping together. So you might read 2, 3, 4, and then look up to drive again, and then do another small set of numbers. I think we found that people are quite good at doing that. And published this work, so it seems that we can be efficient at multitasking, but I'm not quite sure if he was to do it again now, where people would be asked to complete Wordle on their phone whilst driving on a rainy night. Anyway, I just wanted to introduce one of his main areas of research. There are many others, including managing interruptions and using various devices at home. But I'd like to introduce Duncan now to take over the helm, and let's all give him a round of applause.
Thanks, Yvonne. Really nice. So yeah, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. Really nice to see you all. And we've also got a number of people online, which we're recording for. So hello to everyone online. And welcome to everyone in the room. So yeah, I want to talk about digital distraction today. And in keeping from, similar theme to Yvonne's talk from a couple of weeks ago, we're going to touch upon a series of things in kind of a light touch way, but just give you lots to think about. And then at the end, Anna Cox is going to say a few words in the vote of thanks. I'm looking forward to that. So let's go back 15 years ago. 15 years ago. So 29th of June 2007, more or less 15 years ago precisely. This is a fun date. So I keep all my receipts. So I did a little search through my inbox and an outbox to look at my email, and 2 emails from that date. First one was I'd been offered a job at UCL as a lecturer, and the iPhone came out in the US, and it was the same day. You couldn't make it up. So you know, 2 major things happened, and I thought I'd pivot on the talk on this because I was actually in the Bay Area on this day, and like not Steve Jobs, but here's the guy who actually did all the Wozniak was down in Palo Alto at the Apple store. So it was fun, you know, it was clearly a big event happening. And I think what we've seen over the past 15 years is that these mobile devices, you know, we're a HCI group, we're interested in technology. This is the thing at the moment, right? It's not been replaced. Our VR and AR is not going to do that. We've got watches, they're nice, but this is still the thing that we look at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, and we spend a lot of time throughout the day, and it's the thing that you can't live without. It's the thing that you take everywhere, including maybe to the toilet for some of you. So I want to focus on what we've been doing around people's use of the phone. So as Yvonne's already mentioned, driver distraction, I'm going to pick up on that and give you a few more details and a few stories around it. And that's the purpose of this talk, is to tell some stories. I'm then going to talk about the work we did around people watching TV and how the phone is used there as like a second context. And then we'll go back to the phone for what it's primarily probably useful for most people, which is communication. So messaging and chatting with other people. So these are the kind of 3 main pillars of the talk in terms of substance. And then I'm going to end on some like reflections, if you like, from the journey from lecturer to professor over this last 15 years. And some, what I see as some important messages, hopefully. So that's where we're going to end up. 15 years ago. So this was on a trip 2008, I think it was, beginning of 2008, traveling over to Swansea to visit Harold Thimbleby and Matt Jones's group there, the Fit Lab. We just had a grant with them on an EPSRC program grant, yeah, to collaborate. So the real game, when I put these old pictures up, be like, who do you know, right? This is going to be the side of like, you'll see UCL changing over the years. So when I came, got this first grant, EPSRC first grant, which was very nice, and it's called Interactions on the Move, and it supported the work we were doing around driver distraction. So here I am doing very inappropriate things, which is using my phone while driving in the streets of Denver, I think that is. And then we've got Chris Janssen here in the UCL driving simulator, doing a controlled study, because it's much safer to do stuff in a driving simulator than on the open road. And also it allows for, you know, reproducibility and all of that good stuff as well. We'll get that through ethics. I don't think Nadia would have us doing stuff. No, I don't think Nadia would have us do stuff on open roads. But, you know, in this modern world, you know, as I said, we're broadcasting over Zoom, and this is the way we run things now, hybrid conferences. We just come back from a hybrid Chi. 2 weeks ago, we had Chi Work, which was a really nice conference, and that was hybrid. So Carolina Buckler, who was a MSc student from last year, she's in New Hampshire presenting, and, you know, the car enables you to kind of just listen to the audio and like dial into, so you can be driving around. So hello, anyone who's driving right now, don't crash and stay with us. Or you could be on the train or anywhere else. You know, I carried on joining this conference while walking around Tesco and all sorts of other things. So very much on the move. And that's what this was about, interactions on the move. So I want to tell you, it's amazing. This is what phones, I'm going to tell you about an old study, one of the greatest hits. So this is a study that was run when phones looked like this. It's astonishing. This is pre-iPhone. And you see those plastics, they're buttons, and they're physical buttons, and you had to press them. And if you wanted to send a text message, there's no keyboard, right? So you had to like press like 2, the number 2 to get A. You remember this? Oh, bringing the flashbacks from early, it's so painful. So we didn't get people to do text messaging, so that would have been just too reckless. Instead, we just got people to dial this telephone number. It was a local Philadelphia number. And as Yvonne's already mentioned, just so we're all on the same page here, we got people to do this manipulation of tell them to focus on the dialing task or focus on the driving task, and then see how they divide their attention. And what you're looking at here is driver performance. This is like more likely to have a crash and kill somebody. This is less likely to, if you like. So driver safety is going up this way. So the yellow is bad. And this is how long it's taking you to do the dial task. So these kind of different strategies adopted. And Yvonne, you're actually exactly right. I remember coming to talk about this at the time, and people would always say, but you shouldn't be doing this, right? It's just really reckless to even suggest that you can dial safely. And you should never use your phone while driving. And you know what? Things catch up with you. So a couple of years later, in the Bay Area, 2012 this is, driving a convertible over the Golden Gate Bridge when a spaceship on top of an aeroplane comes in front of us. And of course, you should always be focusing on your driving. But when you're driving a convertible over the Golden Gate Bridge and a spaceship on top of an aeroplane flies in front of you, you've got to capture it. So you suspend your driving and you get the camera phone out and start filming very carefully. So, you know, sometimes, but I'm sure the police would still disagree. And so the idea here was thinking about the strategies that people adopt. So taking a simple number like that, how you break it down. So this was the kind of the insight that you could say, dial a digit, and then do you do some driving, or do you dial another digit? And I've presented this slide 100 times. This is my current version of the slide. And here's the version from my job talk back 15 years ago. So a 15-year-old slide. It's the same basic idea. And it's changed in clarity a little bit. But this was the core idea that stuck with us. And it's important because this whole approach allowed you to explore strategies and options and then to determine like which was the best strategy. And I think it's an important question. Who's the best? So yeah, we did some modeling, and you can explore the space. So you've got the data at the bottom, driving performance on the other side, and you can start picking out strategies. So a no interleaving strategy, a maximum interleaving strategy gives you the shape of the curve. And using this, you can then make sense of what people are doing. So it becomes this kind of, by describing the space and simulating it and kind of doing this, you can kind of frame and understand what people are doing and maybe why they're doing it. So, you know, continuing in this driving space for quite a while, and I've been really fortunate to have been invited to a number of Darkstuhl seminars in Germany. And Darkstuhl is amazing, right? So it's this castle in South Germany near the Luxembourg border, and you hang out there for the week, where you spend days in a room like this talking about research and go for hikes in the kind of like the woodland around there and up hills. And then in the evening, they have this delightful wine cellar where that's where the real work is done. You have those much longer conversations and develop really important connections with members of the community. So, you know, I've been to 3 of these, and it's a lot of fun. They're sometimes very serious, and other times have been quite wacky and zany and thinking about creative outputs to express what's going on. I'm going to show you a little video from one of the outputs of this, where we're thinking about the office of the future in the car. I'm not sure I'd want to be in a car with these people who do this area for research.
Hi, yeah, how are you doing? Hello? Yeah, can you hear me? I'm on the phone in the car. Linda, get out of the way. I'm on the phone. Hey, everyone, can you hear me? Hello?
What about that project of ours?
Stop interrupting me. I'm on the phone.
Oh my God, watch out!
So I'm obviously trying to avoid a crash there. So you saw there Chris Janssen almost vomiting while being driven around. So Chris was, as I said, the first PhD student I supervised here at UCL. Unfortunately, can't be with us today. He's over at Utrecht in the Netherlands. But here are some more PhD students that I've had the privilege of working with. So Jake and Melanie. Many of you will know Melanie, who was with us last year on a temporary contract and was here visiting last week. We've got Shipping and Joanna, who are actually in the audience, aren't you? There's Shipping, and where's Joanna gone? Where's Joanna? There's Joanna. Excellent. And we also then get to celebrate at their bigger day. So Sandy is here. Hello, Sandy. Judith, I saw online. Sarah Wiseman here, and we're having fun at graduation, which is in a couple of weeks as well. So we're going to dress up again in our Harry Potter robes and do all of that fun for the master students. Graduation is a really great day, so nice month to celebrate. I'm going to pivot now to, this is Jake Rigby's work around the media multitasking. So if you think about using your phone while driving, that's pretty obvious that there's some real big safety concerns. Like if you're not paying attention to driving, well, first of all, it's against the law, the police will stop you. But also the implications for not paying attention is that you can cause a crash and like real harm can come. But I think this was quite a nice pivot because it was thinking about some of the same issues, but now it's around relaxation and socializing and being with other people, right? And so how do we watch TV now? There was this kind of age where you had a single television in the home, the family, you've got this like image of like the 90s, you know, so I hear we're going back to the 70s, right? So since we're going back to the 70s, there was this image that we had there of like one TV in the house, a family gathering around it, well, you know, a series of channels that you could watch and you had to follow the schedule. Now everyone's got small devices, they're watching on their own device. Maybe they're watching together, but actually they're secretly doing some email or messaging at the same time or doing their own stuff, or you're just watching different stuff. And so thinking about how that's kind of evolving. So this is work done with the BBC where they're thinking about how the viewing experience is changing and how we should kind of take on board this for viewing in the future. So Jake started out with some really fun work where just kind of persuading people. Again, major ethics and data protection issues to overcome, but we did that. But basically filming people watching telly. And so you've got some devices being used, you've got people doing homework. So, you know, it's just people, what they're doing in their natural environment. And then with these videos, there's an opportunity to do some analysis of those. So you're able to take them and then annotate them. And these are being basically coded. The top bar at the top there is TV is on. And then you've got people being present and their device. And where device is just simply whether you can see the phone out or tablet. And so what you can then get a sense of is how, while the TV is on, how people are kind of using their phone while media multitasking. And you see these similar kind of patterns to what we saw in the driving scenario, where there are different strategies. You've got this top one here, where it's kind of like short, bitty interactions. Maybe they're kind of having a WhatsApp message, and it's just like comes in, put it down, comes in, put it down, and kind of while watching. And at the bottom here, it's basically like, no, I'm going to sit with you, but I'm just going to do my email while we're sitting together, but I'm not actually watching your show. And so it's thinking about how those viewing experiences develop. But I think this is kind of fascinating, kind of how the viewing experience has changed as we moved into these kind of new platforms on demand, moving away from large TVs. Certainly, you know, my children, particularly my youngest daughter, rarely watches on the big TV. It's like it's too cumbersome. It's like it's a nice big TV, it's great quality, high resolution. You'd think it should be a nice viewing experience, and she could have it all to herself. But no, first of all, the remote control is a horrible user interface. But there's something nicer just simply about having a tablet and being able to walk around. Okay, so yeah, there's something about the form factor of this. You can watch when you want, how you want. So you can take it to different spaces and move around the house, or simply watch when you're on the go. We developed a tool for assessing those viewing experiences. This is building on work that Anna Cox initially started here around experiences with gaming. So using your phone or a computer to play computer games. And they developed a questionnaire that you can give somebody after a playing experience to see how great the experience was. And what we did is kind of adapted that and applied it to assessing experiences in TV watching. So you watch a video, then you fill out this really quick 24-item questionnaire, which works really nicely. And you get a measure of the effect. Why am I telling you about this? I think because I want to pivot into the relationship between research and teaching, which I'm going to come back to again in a moment. So here is a master's dissertation project from summer 2020, so the year that COVID got started. It was done entirely online. What was done here was, as we're beginning to think about how teaching was going to happen, we started thinking about how to make videos, right? How do we do this? And it was very clear that like Zoom forces you into a certain way of making videos with like small video, and then you've got the slides, and you know, does that work? Do you like to see the face, right? Right now, the people watching online are probably seeing mostly my slides, and then it's just a little me, right? And that's the default. What happens if you want a different view? So we're beginning to think about what could we do in terms of research to assess these experiences. And so we're using the Film IEQ to then think about how you can think about different viewing experiences. So we had here a small face. So here it's like an embedded video. with the full slides? Or do you do kind of more of a flipped interleaving where you have a slide for a bit and then it's full face and a slide for a bit? And there's another thing as well where it was like the background. So here is a professional background. It's all very officey looking. And then we had another condition where it was all fun background, right? So it's more engaging. I'll get back to that in a moment. But why am I telling you about this? I'm telling you about this because I think we've got some of the current master's students in the room, right? Is that right? Did I see some people walk in? Yeah, there we go. Hello. So you know about this. So you know about this data set from your coursework, right? Yeah, you like that. Good memories, happy days, not stressful at all. You still remember how to do that? Good stuff. So I care passionately about teaching research skills, data handling skills. And so what's nice is you can take stuff like this and give students data sets and then set them basically problem-based learning activities where you say, think about how you analyze this and develop those skills. And I think those skills are super important because let's be honest, when you go off into future industry roles, you're going to need them, right? You're going to be given some data, you're going to handle data. You need to know how to handle it correctly. And you need to know how to make sense of it. And so we're kind of working on that. And I think that's where I'm going to pivot now to some current research that we're doing. This is in collaboration with Microsoft Research at the Road in Cambridge, of thinking about how you teach people to use Excel. So Excel is pretty dry. No one gets too excited by it, really. You know, who's excited by Excel? Did you know that there are like TikTok channels devoted to teaching you tips and tricks for Excel?
Bongo la, bongo cha cha cha.
So this is a fun way. So TikTok, it's a modern format. It's what the kids of today are into, right? That's what the kids tell me anyway. I don't know about TikTok myself, but it's a 30-second format, so very brief. And, you know, it's very hard. You know, I think I've made Excel videos and they're not 30 seconds, right, guys? They're pretty long and boring. Yeah, they're pretty boring. I'm not going to get the same level of, and these have got massive amounts of watches. You know, we're talking like 35,000 views for how to do these simple functions in Excel using TikTok through a tutorial for TikTok. And so we're interested to see how that's going to work as a technique for whether you actually learn anything from it. So going back to what was done in Gary's project there was around looking at the fun aspect. Is that a good way of learning? If we make it fun, do people learn better? Does it make it more engaging? It certainly probably makes it more memorable. You'll probably remember this bit of the talk, the fact that I can go and learn Excel stuff like count if on TikTok. That's something that you'll probably remember, right? Okay, on to the third strand, quick whistle-stop tour. So communication is vital. We spent, well, we know this, right? We spent the last 2 years communicating over Zoom and having mixed views on that. And we come back together again, like we are in a room together today, and we're going to go outside and catch up afterwards. And this is you click through the years at various Kai socials. So again, I'll let you see who you recognize here. There's some familiar faces. Yeah, I'll let you pick out faces. And even you get points. So I think this is Glasgow. This was the year before in Toronto. And that's this year in New Orleans. So lots of fun. And, you know, it takes, as Yvonne said, organizing. It takes great effort and stamina. You need great stamina to organize a great social. But we're helped by technology in our phones. So a key weapon in mobilizing our efforts at Kai is WhatsApp. It's great because it works when you're abroad, right? So, and I don't know, the power of WhatsApp, everyone's on it. Most people are on it. I know some people are not, but most people are. You can get it wherever you are, and you get these groups that kind of spring up. I think the first one was maybe 2014 in Toronto, or maybe Paris in 13. But it's been a fairly stable thing, and I love it because it's a group that will stay quiet. I know, Sandy, you managed. I think you actually put the Denver picture on there, didn't you? I think. So people have managed these over the years, and they grow quite organically. I think they often get picked up as the fragments of the previous conference, and then they grow, right? And people get added in, and it's really quite powerful. So Joseph, you're visiting here from Toronto today, welcome. But yeah, we had lots of interactions over New Orleans about kind of coordinate and sharing locations to find each, so these kind of things work very well. Sorry? Yeah, exactly. So it really works to share where people are and organizing. And the moment this kind of started happening, I just thought it was absolutely fascinating, the way in which the groups of people are spontaneously forming these ad hoc groups, very rapid communication to coordinate behavior, navigate a new city, figure out what to do, figure out where the best talks are in the daytime and where the best parties are in the evening. Very important conference work being done here through WhatsApp. And I remember thinking it'd be great to do some research in this space. It took a long time, but I'm really happy to report. So Mark and Laura, really great patience on seeing this paper through. So it was really nice. It was focusing on the topic of how people use these WhatsApp groups, and in a particular use case, which is the deletion. So if you're on these things, and you write the wrong thing, and I'm sure you're all on groups where this has happened. Somebody's posted something to the wrong group, and you're like, We had one the other day where a parent posted flight details. Like, you didn't need to put it there, did you? And it's like, what do you do about that? Do you go, oops, let's try and fix that and pull it back? Or do you just simply do some of our political leaders, just keep moving, never apologize for anything, ever. And so what we're looking at here is those kind of choices and why people choose to delete and tidy up the back. And there's some interesting reasons, as you'd expect. So things like clarification of details, right? If you're going to meet somebody and you realize you put the wrong time in or the wrong date, you can yank it back and then actually put the correction in. So that's super useful if it's then going to provide an audit trail for someone to go over. But in many cases, people didn't. And, we're looking at some of the things that people thought about why messages were deleted and what other people then think about why it was then deleted. And often, as no great surprise, but when you see a message been deleted, often if then the person deletes it, you didn't read it, you often think it's far worse than what it was. Because you think the bar for deleting is like, oh my God, they posted something that they really shouldn't have shared. And then it's shocking, I know, but your phone, it still receives calls. So imagine this, you're watching your TikTok video again, and you get somebody can call you through it. And what you get is this, well, I'm going to get onto the future in a moment, or the current day. But this work was done in 2014, some really nice collaboration with some colleagues over in Saarbrücken. And it was looking at the way this is handled. So for the longest time, the choice was made up high that it's a phone first, and that the phone receiving a call receives a special status, so it gets to interrupt whatever you do. So if you're watching a video, too bad, somebody's calling you. That's more important. So the designers made a value choice there, and what we did here is to pick out and say, well, that's been fairly stable for a long time. We explored the design choice of different options. And really, the only thing that's worth noticing here is this option here, which is that instead of doing a full screen notification, you just do a ribbon at the top. And that gives more of the ability to continue doing what you're doing and just handle in the same way that you do text messages on things like WhatsApp. This work was done back in summer of 2013 when I was on sabbatical at Georgia Tech. So I cleared some time there to kind of get really nicely involved in that. And what we did is the app was made and then it was put on the App Store. People downloaded it, used it, shared their data. And it was nice. We were able to gain some insights from that. For instance, that, incoming calls really do interrupt current activity. So this 33% number you can see here, this is the proportion of calls that are received while the person is actively got an app open. So they're holding their phone and doing something with it. So a good number of calls are coming in while you're doing something else. And then with this new app, what it basically looked at is that you get this nice split between those where they make a choice to take the incoming call. So it goes back to this issue of priorities again, a bit like the driver distraction stuff, which is more important, the driving or the dialing of the telephone number. Here, it's allowing that kind of choice, putting the user in control of that choice to say, do I want to carry on watching my TikTok video, or is it more important to talk to somebody I'm expecting expecting a call from a nearest and dearest. So you can make that choice to take it, or you can let it just ring through. And that ringing through is super, as you can see here, only 8% of the time they hit the red button to say, no, I don't want to talk to you. Most of the time we just let these things ring through. I mean, I don't know about you, but I always get terrified of hitting that red button. It sends a signal that there's actually a human being at the end of that line. And you're like, oh no, I'm going to get even more from this robot generated spam caller now, right? It's out of control. It's out of control out there. So yeah, the nice thing is we published this paper at CHI 2014. So what was that, like in about April? And then by the summer, this video surfaced from Google.
That we call a heads-up notification. And this can be used to let you know about something urgent without interrupting what you're doing. So let's say I'm playing my new favorite game, which is piano tiles, and I'm going along here, about to get my highest score ever, and then all of a sudden I get a call from Marcelo. So from here I can keep going, or if I want to act on it, I can answer it, or if I'm busy, swipe it away. And then I can go back to my game and get the highest score that I've ever got in public.
Great. So you see the idea. So that's this idea of the ribbon was taken forward. And it's great to see that this has now made its way, even Apple, they've made this change too. So you can actually go into settings for those iPhone users and go to phone. And you've actually got this choice now. Do I want banner notifications or full screen notifications? So when you have this banner notification and you're watching your TikTok video, what you get now, instead of this whole like full screen notification, you just get this small banner notification. So again, your video carries on playing, and you can just make that kind of choice. So a really nice putting users in control of that decision there about how they handle interruptions from the phone. So that's kind of like the three things I wanted to talk about in our phone use. There's of course many things I wanted to talk about, but I've only got so long. If there's one more thing I would have told you about in detail, it would have been our work with the email game paper, another long saga paper that one was. I won't go into the details. All I'd say is that, communication, again, is fascinating, how people prioritize, especially in this world where we receive too much communication. And this paper was published in HCI Journal, and it basically varied the cues in which people could see to help them decide which email to read first and respond to. And it did that through this really cool, I think a really cool methodological contribution, which was the email game, where we sent people fake emails to their real email account over an extended period of time, and then they got points, and the points equals money, so they were incentivized, and we logged how quickly they responded, and we changed features, and we could get this sense of like, do you value the really urgent thing or the really important thing, right? And what did we learn? We learned urgency always wins, unfortunately. So just simply shouting at somebody, this needs to be done now, is the way to get their attention, not saying, I've got this thing that's really important. That actually doesn't, so this is maybe a cue for how to get feedback on stuff. That falls into the wilderness, right? We all like to get to important stuff, but it's urgency trumps importance, unfortunately. And so we reinforce that over email, particularly email checking behavior. So final reflections at the end of the day as we look upon the water. This was great. This is 3 weeks ago. We're on a family holiday in Crete. It's a great place. Would definitely recommend it. Very peaceful and a nice way to get a break from our screens. So reflections. So as Yvonne already mentioned, I came here from a psychology background. So here's a picture of the entrance to the Tower building at Cardiff University. And this is where I did my undergraduate degree and PhD, going all the way through. And it was a strong experimental psychology department. So a lot of my PhD friends were doing stuff in the basement with animals. So, like putting mice in Morris mazes, lesioning bits of their brains out and then seeing if they could still find the platform. Delightful stuff, right? So it's, it's this thing. And then we go to, I think we're going to get a mention of the pen and wig shortly. We learn all about this, about how to do this kind of research, not the brain hacking bit, but the kind of like methodological kind of skill set. But it was a heavy theory, behaviorist inspired department where you're looking at things like operant conditioning. Yeah, it's good to see that reinforcement learning has had no impact on the world. Oh no, wait a minute, all that machine learning stuff that's taking over. No, it's super important, right? But yeah, we learned about, and all the forefathers of all of this stuff, we talk about AI, it's all reinforcement learning. It's basically old psychology, right? So a lot of the early math was from that tradition, which is quite nice. So this is where we learned from theory, falling back onto maths, falling onto carefully designed experiments. And then Yvonne's right. So I came in and had to teach interaction design, which was, a real learning. It was a really nice, so I'd already been interested in HCI and going to Chi, but I was beginning to kind of come out of that, quantitative tradition and look across to the room that, the big eclectic room that HCI is. And you know what, what I love about this, and what I've really enjoyed about being at UCLIC and about being in the Chi community, about the HCI, interdisciplinarity is super important and valuable. It's hard, it's so easy to stay in your silo, but don't do it. What happens in a silo is that you take so many things for granted and you just simply don't know how to pitch your work. You just assume the entire audience knows all the preamble. So you don't bother with the preamble, you just jump straight to and this is what I'm doing, right, for my novel contribution, which is it's that old cartoon of showing this very small thing. When you're in an interdisciplinary community like we are, you have to always explain your assumptions. So, it's great, going to things like, back when the Chi PC meetings used to be in person, and sitting there with people like Barry Brown, who does driving research, like me, but, we take a different approach. Whereas I was doing this kind of stuff in a simulator, getting it through ethics and doing a nicely controlled study, looking at performance, Barry was instead just sitting behind people doing this with their, recording stuff down, right? And so it's a very different style of research. And I think those kind of conversations make you think about things like ecological validity, generalizability, the appropriateness of methodology for the research questions that you're asking, those types of questions, which I think are super healthy for any discipline to ask themselves about. But of course, we're really great at qualitative research. And I just love this cartoon. So I just had to put it up. And so this is from Anne's book with Dom and Stefan, where, I think this is just a super reminder of capturing those different methods and so you use the right words to describe the right things, and it's good fun. So thinking about research methods, this is a reflection. One of the real highlights, and I'm super grateful. I think this came about, like most things in academia, it came about by accident. I got contacted at the last moment. I think Dom Furness had been in touch with Effie Law, who was at Leicester and has now gone up to Durham, professor there, and to teach on a summer school. And anyway, Dom wasn't able to do it that year. And I think somehow it all got past it. And so eventually it was like, would you like to get involved in this? I'm like, sure. First one was at Lake Bled in Slovakia? Slovenia, thank you, apologies. And what we did is over a series of years, I think about a good 3 or 4 years, we did these, with notably David Lamas at Tallinn University, where we're doing these summer schools. And it was really quite a nice experience to come out. And they were focusing on PhD students who were doing work in the area of HCI, but they weren't coming from UCLIC, right? So we're very fortunate here where we've got unbelievable capacity in HCI. I mean, how many academics do we have in our department now? It's like 12, 15 academics, right? Which I think in the context of even Chi is unusual, right? Am I right, Joseph? You go to other places, there's only a handful of universities in the world which have so many people that focus on that area.
And just a comment, we have a lot of faculty, but it's almost unprecedented to have psychology and area. That's really unique. I'm very envious.
Yes, thank you. And so we're really, really fortunate here. And so it's great to be able to then go out and do these summer schools where it was basically focused on people that were they had maybe one professor or one advisor who was a HCI person, but they didn't have that great exposure. So it was kind of really nice experience. And it was in great locations as well. So we moved through. This is on the streets of Dubrovnik at the end of at the end of teaching. So I think this goes back to this old classic, the 3 pillars of academic career, isn't it? What are the 3 things that we do? Research, teaching, and service. So I'll leave you to think about and I think these things aren't separate. They are, for me, they're not separate strands. It's not like today I'm going to do my research and then tomorrow I'm going to do my teaching and then I'm going to do my service. I think these things are intricately, and if you're really clever, you can actually make it that they complement and enhance one another. And so I've been super, super fortunate since I took over the program director role from Rachel Benedict, a really remarkable colleague with us many years, driving that program forward. And so it was really nice to be able to, in that role, think about what we wanted to teach. We did the big program restructure. So Nick, you're involved in that, and Paul Marshall. At the time, we had big program thoughts about how to restructure this program. By the way, this is from our UCL 2022 newsletter. So a really nice newsletter that describes all of our achievements. I'll leave that there for anyone who's interested. We've got copies online. So what was really nice about doing the master's program is that we could think about what we thought as core material, what we thought about as more kind of specialist stuff. And it was, for me, really nice to basically take on a module which is right in my area. And a lot of, as the students will know, you've already heard about most of these content-wise things because they get to talk about it, right? So I'm super privileged that, like, get to do some research and then talk about it in the teaching. So it's like research-led teaching, put it in UCL parlance. And we had some really great. I would look through my photo archive. It's so much fun. So these are previous students that I supervised over the past few years and have kept in touch with. Good times, and really, really nice to involve students in research projects as well. So we talked about Gary's work from a couple of years ago, but that's continued, and Carolina's projects. So throughout the years. And then, we did things. So Nick, you were leading on the interaction design module there with Yvonne as well, about getting groups of students to go out to CHI and take part in the student design competition. So here are groups of students represented at CHI, and with Jacob Nielsen, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. So they're very happy to meet Jacob. So there we go. And they get to be exposed to the community. And so this comes back to the final thing, which is about community and service. And over the years, my big service contribution, the number one reason you should do service is because you get really great clothes for free, right? And you never know when it might come in useful to have a really nasty Hawaiian shirt. So here we are on the stage at CHI, the fated CHI that never happened. Oh, wait. Technology overload. So this was planning for CHI 2020, which is now going to be 2024. We're rerunning things. Hopefully we won't rerun the COVID thing. Let's just plan the CHI for that happening. Over the years, I've been, that was getting involved in the CHI PC meetings was super valuable, actually. At the beginning of my career, great opportunity to meet people, a network of people outside the department, get to see more work, get to see what people are doing, get to see what the reviewers like, how that all works. A picture up here is from CHI this year in New Orleans, where we had a really nice editorial dinner for IJHGS. So it's a journal that I'm editor-in-chief for. And it's like managing a group of, recruiting a group of volunteers essentially to help run a major journal. This topic, I think, of service and peer review and how it all happens, I find absolutely fascinating, actually. So you get things like refinements to process. This is IJHCS's published peer review process, a very complex spider diagram of decisions about where you get major revisions, minor revisions, who gets to see what and when, how many people get to look at all that kind of stuff. And these things are constantly in flux. CHI this year famously went from its kind of like rebuttal process to then doing major revisions, and what does that do, and all of that good stuff. We get the various issues, as authors, we have a particular love for reviewer 2. Reviewer 2 is always very positive and constructive with their feedback before they tank our paper, and we get frustrated with that. Then you get these kind of broader issues around the replication crisis, and people talking about, is there a hole in HI? Do we value novelty too much over replication? All of these kind of like perennial discussions, which never going to be resolved, but they're healthy to have, I think. I don't think there is a point of resolving them. They're just healthy to have. It's a good way of doing stuff. And then I think, Sandy, you're responsible for this analysis, weren't you, for the CHI 2019, looking at and documenting what people are actually doing as reviews. So this figure here, you can't really see the details, but it basically is a histogram of the length of reviews. And the long and short of it is, they're really bloody long, like really long. Like the effort that we go to in our reviews And so shipping, I'm going to pick on you again. Where have you gone? There you are. Hello, shipping. So this is something that shipping and Anna and I are working on at the moment in current research, is thinking about this peer review process. And so if you're interested in this, go talk to shipping. She's going to be doing another study very soon. And we're recruiting participants. So there's my plug for that. But I think, simply the question of you'll be astonished at the number of papers that require reviews and people decline because they're too busy. But I don't think we can even answer the simple question, like, if I asked you to review a paper, Leon, how long should you spend on it? 20 minutes? 2 days? A week? 2 hours? It's completely impossible to plan. And Joanna, where you are back there again, this is the kind of thing that Joanna's been looking at, is people's ability to plan their work, which is super important. It goes back to what I was talking about with email, urgency, importance. These kind of these tasks that have a very they're just horrible, right? So we can think about how to get them more constrained and make them better. I think it really helps people, and that's something that Joanna's been looking at, like the whole planning aspect there. What I want to say though is, it's so many people, I can't go into details. So thank you so much. On that, I'm going to hand over to Anna.
Okay, so the presentation of an inaugural lecture is a really wonderful tradition, which I think reflects the kind of importance that we give to someone's promotion to full professor in the UK. So it's a real honour for me to be asked to lead this vote of thanks, and to thank Duncan for giving us the lecture. But I'm also kind of called upon in this role to give some reflection, some insights into the speaker, and to comment a little also on what he's been saying. So I thought I'd begin at the beginning. Duncan and I first met almost exactly 19 years ago, when he was just Mr. Brumby. We spent the day together with our PhD supervisors, and honestly, I can't remember what we talked about, but I think it was perhaps modelling visual search tasks in ACTAR, because that's kind of what we were working on at the time. And as well as spending some time in the psychology department, Duncan's already showed you a picture, we also spent some time at the Pen and Wig pub at the end of the day. And I had the opportunity to go back there just last week and relive the moment. And it made me think that we need to start planning our 20th year anniversary, Duncan, so we can have a party. Our next meeting was about a year later. We were both at CogSci 2004 in Chicago, where we did lots of fun things, including pretending to clean windows of an extremely tall building. And then a little bit later, we met again in 2006 in Vancouver. And then shortly after, as you've heard, Duncan came and joined us at UCL. Since then, we've developed a working relationship that honestly I count as one of the most valuable and professional experiences of my career. We've co-authored about 60 publications. We've supervised, I think, about 7 PhD students together, and some of our former students and current students are here, as you have heard. So I'd like to thank you for coming to celebrate with us today. I've also had the opportunity to watch close up how Duncan has grown as an academic over this time. He's a really talented researcher who has a sharp intellect and a great eye for detail. He's an inspirational teacher who is always very popular with our students. And he is a thoughtful and reliable colleague. And he has steered us and our master's program through an incredibly challenging time, and really ensured that our program has continued to deliver at the level that we wanted. Now, since he joined UCL, we've spent a lot of time together in airport lounges. That's what that bottom photo is. As we've traveled the world visiting a number of conferences. And it's at these conferences that I've also witnessed another one of Duncan's talents. He is an amazing networker. not only does he always meet some new people, which is not something I am normally very good at, but he shares his talent by introducing me to new people. And it is because of that that I met Joseph just in CHI this year. So thank you too for coming to visit us today. Now, not only have you been a long-time collaborator, Duncan, but you've also been a wonderful friend. I've had the pleasure of enjoying your cooking, sharing time with your family, and I even gate crashed one of your family holidays. And on each of these occasions, you've been a gracious host. So thank you for that. You're also one of my biggest sources of digital distraction. I took a look at how much of my WhatsApp storage is devoted to messages from different people, and you sit at the top of the leaderboard. So, in conclusion, I look forward to continuing our work together and watching you to continue to shape our understanding of digital distraction, and in your new faculty role in shaping education here at UCL. Your lecture tonight took us on a journey through history as we watch how the devices we use changed and also how our use of them have changed. So on behalf of all of us here, I would like to thank you for your lecture, for the insights it has brought us, and wish you happiness and success in all that you do in the years to come.